Welcome to the Millennial Body Image Project. We're two licensed dietitian nutritionists bringing you conversations that cut through the food noise, debunk wellness trends, and remind you that it's not you, it's the systems stacked against you.
Together, we'll explore the struggles so many of us carry, challenge the fear-mongering that fuels them, and offer evidence-based, compassionate tools to support your body on its own terms.
Because your lived experience matters, and your body is not the problem.
Amazing. Maria, welcome back to the podcast today. For those of you who don't know, the last time we recorded, I think, was like almost 2 years ago, which is very different from the hellscape that we're currently in, which is funny because I'm pretty sure the last time we recorded, we were like, look at the hellscape that we're living in. But the way that I wanted to introduce you today is actually perfect for what we were just talking about in terms of the vibe before we started recording. One of the first posts that you have pinned on your Instagram is "We are dietitians that don't make you feel like shit." And I think that is the perfect place to start today. Do you want to introduce yourself for people?
Sure. And I have to give credit where credit is due. Mary Jacobs is a local New Orleanian who runs Mary's Rack. It was an amazing TikTok that she no longer really populates with content, but she is amazing. And she tagged me something and said, if you want a dietitian, doesn't make you feel like shit. And I said, can I run with that? And she says, please run with that. So
Please, absolutely.
Wonderful. And it's true. My name is Maria Terry. I run Maria Terry Nutrition and Wellness. Is a private practice with 6 dietitians, accepting insurance in 16 states, working with folks as well, private pay. We run community classes monthly, group coaching, an online membership where people can feel welcome to just enjoy learning to eat and nourish their bodies without stressing and without the diet culture. My practice is both virtual and here in New Orleans in person. I work in an active setting, 2 gyms. So we love working with active adults, people that are reclaiming fitness after years of the presidential fitness test absolutely destroying their psyche. So we have a lot. Oh, and I'm not. If everyone's ready. It has been a wild ride since I last saw you. And the first time we ever recorded a podcast was during a hurricane recovery here.
Yeah,
And I had no power or internet and had to do our podcast from at the time, like a new friend's house. And she's now like my closest friend. So I can update that some things have only gotten better since our first episode together. Some friendships have blossomed.
Yeah.
So those things considered, we have a lot of fun in our practice. We're dietitians that don't make you feel like shit because we're centered on the patient and centered on like who you are, what you like, what foods do you like, what foods do you not like. We don't do a top-down approach, and we're intuitive eating dietitians, and we only use this framework. We are perimenopause dietitians, and we only use this framework. We actually look at the client first and apply everything we know about nutrition to bring you up to maybe where you want to be, whatever feels best in your body. So that's what we do.
Imagine using a person-first approach. What?
Can you say more about that? Yeah, it's so strange.
Oh my God. Yeah, I love that. And I feel like it's so funny because you know how sometimes when you meet someone, even virtually, and you just like connect on the same vibe or like aura as the children are saying these days. And I feel like that's what it was like when we first recorded. And we're like, oh, I see you. Okay, yes, this is
entirely
same.
Yes, and we, just so that everyone is clear, we have been cutting up since I entered this chat today. So we have not really missed a beat. I think that energy has always been there, which is I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And the way that this one came around is I saw some reel that you did and I was like, hello, would love to catch up. Let's get you back on the podcast. So who knows where we're going to go today.
Yeah. Buckle up.
Oh my God. But actually, okay, the one singular thing that I wrote down that I would love for us to talk about today is as we're surrounded in the era of Ozempic and skinny talk and everything like that, I want to talk about Sturdy Girl Summer / Sturdy Girl Season. But I would love to know for you, because that kind of started out as like a very chill, oh, I'm posting about being a sturdy girl, whatever. I feel like I got some traction. And you were like, you know what? Actually, this is my whole thing. This is most of my brand now, which like is so you and completely makes sense and is a perfect phrase to encompass like a lot of what you stand for. So I'd love to hear about like where that came from and how it has grown into what it's become now.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm honored to talk about it. It does feel very much like it has become more than me, which is really wild. In fact, one of our gym programs that I have nothing to do with is called Sturdy Girl Strength Club. And it just came from like, and now there's like a whole group of women that call themselves sturdy girls that I am not really, some of them I haven't even met. So it's a beautiful thing to see grow. And it came from, I remember where I was standing in the gym when I thought about it. And it was because hot girl summer, obviously, we love Megan Thee Stallion. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It kind of came from this idea of the pressure to be hot and the pressure to be aesthetically pleasing. Now, that's obviously not the origin of that phrase, but I think that's how it got applied. Like, I'm going to have a hot girl summer. And I thought that was at a time, yes, a couple of years ago, even, 2016, I abruptly sold my house and freaked out about the economy because of the presidential election. Like, I've been kind of feeling shaky and on shaky ground about our society and our government and our politics and how it affects our bodies and how it affects our nutrition for a long time. And the idea of sturdy came from, well, what if you had a sturdy girl summer? Like, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And I think it looks like taking care of yourself and embracing your strength, regardless of your body size, regardless of your starting point, and recognizing that what is sturdy is what keeps you firm in who you are and what keeps you grounded in your values. And so sturdy can mean many different things to many people. I think the gut reaction is like sturdy means like you're a thick meatball muscle mommy, which it can. We welcome those types.
Yeah.
I think sturdiness is also, yeah, is it the diligence of like believing in your strength and strength training? Yes. I think also a runner is a sturdy girl and someone who's maybe not in a season of activity is a sturdy girl because maybe you have sturdy boundaries. Maybe you have really firm expectations on, I'm not going to go out with my girlfriends who eat salads for lunch and not get a real ass meal. I'm going to remain unshakable. If you look up sturdy in the dictionary, it's usually describing a person or a thing, like a house, that is immovable or hard to move, that is based on strength, but also cohesion and unification. And you look at the world we're in right now, and you are intended to not be sturdy. Like, if you follow the program that society hands you as a young girl or as a young person, it's not about being sturdy. It's about being manipulated. And, can you be flexible to the whims of what body image is, now sexy or like this type of body is in? My body's never been in. I'm shaped like a cereal box. So for me, it was easy to adapt to sturdy girl because it's like, I don't even get a choice in the matter. I'm gonna have hip dips and weird and like I don't know what that is. I'm not gonna have a waist. I don't know what snatched looks like, but it sounds great for y'all. So it kind of comes from a place of this is something I personally want to own, and it has been extremely empowering for clients going through real life things like losing their job, losing their parent, getting diagnosed with a chronic illness, getting injured. Sturdy gets you through it all, which has been just fun to see it grow. And we have, maybe by the time this comes out, there will be a lot more to it, but there's something kind of fun in the works in our team that will take this like another step further.
Ooh,
So
love.
yeah. So that's sort of where all that content comes from. A lot of people ask, does it come from the SNL Jeopardy, Black Jeopardy skit where Tom Hanks is asked the question, like the cue is, what can a skinny woman do for you? And he goes, what is not a damn thing? It's Tom Hanks' answer. And he says, my wife, I like her sturdy. And
Oh,
can't
okay.
my so I've had people ask like, is it from that? And I think like, no, that's just the perfect coincidence.
Mhm.
And also it's a great SNL skit if anyone's interested.
We'll link it in the show notes
Yeah.
if you in case you want to see it. No, I love that. And I love how it started as one thing of like the kind of like a narrow concentric circle, but then it just expanded and expanded and expanded as, us being in our 30s. And then as you go to your 40s and 50s and like all the populations that we work with, it can apply to you at any time in your life, whether you're struggling or not, right? Like if
Yeah.
you're having a hard
Yeah.
time, is anyone not struggling right now? Let's be honest. But I really like that it can not only be applied to strength, because of course both you and I love strength training, and that's like a core of part of why we got into this work. And like, yes, it can apply to nutrition as well, but it can apply to grief, and it can apply to injuries, it can apply to chronic health issues, like
Mhm.
all these different things that we tend to see in our practices. And I find it can really be like a centering and a grounding element for people as well. And so with that, I also love that you did a post where You're talking about how you thought you would miss the younger, smaller version of yourself, like speaking about body image, right? And like, turns out I don't, haha. But for people who do or are like still working on not missing the non-sturdy version of themselves, let's say, what do you think is some advice that you would give them?
Mm. I think that I appreciate the way you described that. And I also will say that I can't even remember what happened last night, but I had something that happened where I saw a video of myself or a picture of myself in current day and also like might have been wedding. I can't remember what it was where I was like, oh my God.
Prior days.
Prior days, yeah,
Mhm.
and, like, I was in a really bad mental place when I got married, not just even disordered eating and eating disorder-wise, just, like, bad mental place. Those 2 things often go together, and I felt grief, but I didn't feel urgency, and so what I'd like to offer for those that are feeling like, "No, like, I wanna be her again. I would do anything to look like her. I would do anything to lose 5 to 10 pounds to even be that much closer to that person that I used to be." Is to ask yourself, are you feeling grief for that change or are you feeling urgency? Because that grief doesn't go away. You just learn how to deal with it better. So I don't want to be that girl anymore, but I still can romanticize her and I still can daydream about her and I can still wonder what it would be like and what would I look like and how would I be treated differently and would my work as a dietitian be easier? If I like, had defined abs again, like those are questions I'm still allowed to navigate, but what it doesn't hurt as much and it's not as punishing to sit with that discomfort as it was when I really wanted to be her again. But every time I would feel that urge, there was urgency that I needed to do something, I needed to change something, I should act on it. And all that did was disrupt my trust in myself. So let's say I'm in my master's program for nutrition and I see a picture of myself from an earlier time. I'm like, oh, maybe I should get back to running. Like, no, girl. Like, you injured yourself so many times running because you didn't do strength training. Like, you're allowed to be in a new era. You're allowed to not run 40 miles a week. And you might have to parent yourself through that. But I think I would just like to like kind of clear a little smoke here, which is like, I still think about her.
Hmm.
I still miss her in some ways. She's not in the dust, and I, like, never think about her. But I empathize and have compassion for that version of myself, and I can kind of look at her you know what it is? Devil Wears Prada, end of the movie. Meryl Streep, they connect, Anne Hathaway, their characters connect, they see each other, and they give each other a nod, and it's very clear that what we had was something, but it wasn't good and it wasn't healthy. But we can kind of see each other from across a busy street and say, yeah, those were times that we had together. So I think it's complicated. And I would ask yourself, am I feeling grief or am I actually feeling a need to change? And all you need to address is the urgency. Can't really do anything with the grief except hold its hand and sit with it.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important part to bring up. I talk about this with my clients and then on the podcast, of course, about when you're working on your relationship with food and when you're working on body image. It's not like you're never, ever going to have a single thought ever again of wanting to diet or wanting to lose
Mhm.
weight or being annoyed that you can't fit into your jeans or that you look at a picture of yourself and you're like, oh, I didn't realize I look like that. I think
Yeah.
there's a misconception from a lot of people that after, what is the after? You work on this stuff and you get the elusive there, you're never going to have a thought of any of this stuff ever again. And like you were saying, there will of course be thoughts. And I do find that it's helpful to have that reminder that it's not the expectation of this is never ever going to happen again. It's never or ever going to cross my mind. It's almost like that analogy they use in meditation of you're just kind of watching the clouds go by is the clouds are not gone, but you can kind of observe them from afar, like you were saying. And when those thoughts come up, you can almost see them from a little bit more of a detached perspective. And when you can do that, you know that you don't have as much urgency as you
There it
were saying.
is. Mhm.
And it's figuring out or to measure progress, I guess you could say is like, how much urgency is there in this? Like, is there as much urgency as there was before? Is there less urgency? Because then, even if you're having some of that urgency, it is a way to be like, hey, look, I actually have made some progress here. And that will change based on your capacity, your resilience in this season of your
Yeah.
life.
Mhm.
If you have a bunch of shit that is going on that is really tampering you down, like you mentioned, your relationship with food stuff, your body image stuff is probably going to rear its ugly head to the surface.
Sure
That
will.
doesn't mean that we're back to square one of where you were before. It just means that you're having a hard time right now. And that is probably a very previously helpful coping tool that helped take you out of that situation or move through that situation. So, you know, typical, we get into the nuance here, right?
Yes,
Like
here we are. We've
it's
arrived.
never black and white. And that's what we're trying to get away from anyway, is like the black and white, all or nothing thinking about everything, because where did that ever get any of us?
Right. And I mean, it's a tool of oppression. If all you ever
Yeah.
think is that there's one right way to do something, it's only this way or that way, you completely lose yourself. It's the right way or the wrong way. I mean, even right now in our world, it's us and them. It's what side of the aisle are you on? And I think we're finally getting a little bit more conversation on like, hey, what do people need? What does a community need? Like, politics aside, like, when are we going to wake up and recognize this human need for functionality and for nourishment and for health? And I think you can do that on an individual level in a beautiful way. It does require this sort of patience, like you're naming, which is like sitting with it and thinking about it and recognizing that these thoughts are going to come and go. I think that's my couple clients that are always like, I got my lobotomy at Claire's. Like they're like just dying to not think about food in their body
Is this gonna
anymore.
be forever? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I try to remind people that the gremlins in your head can grab the microphone, kind of like a drunk person at a party. And
Mhm.
you don't have to listen to that. Like, you can turn the volume down. You cannot remove that person's being from a party, like physically getting in there. Right? Like you think about like boundaries of touching people. But
Yeah.
like if that happened at a party, you might cut the mic. You might be like, hey, do you want to like walk the block with me? Do you like walk that off? Like you have to kind of offer yourself that same sort of patience and compassion because those thoughts will they're all I mean, as long as we live in the world we live in, they will be there because people profit off of that. So that
Mhm.
is like the general function of capitalism. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, the other thing that this is really playing into is if this feels a lot louder right now than it did even, I would say, not during 2020, because it was very loud for most people that year trying to deal with COVID and the whole situation there. But it's
Mhm.
like in, let's say, the between years, between COVID and now, or
Ow.
like
Mhm.
between COVID and last summer, let's say, it made a lot of sense why it is louder
Yeah.
right now. And if that is a thing for you, yeah, that's a thing for most people. And so it's not that you have been regressing in your progress with working on your body image or thinking about your relationship with food. It's that this is more of a symptom of the scope of what is
Yeah.
going on, not
Yeah.
only globally and nationally, but then also personally, because it's hard to hold all of this stuff at one time. And that's when a lot of us are finding that we want to, on the one hand, dissociate, but then also find local community more. And like people are looking for more community as a support system for all of this. So it's just a very confusing and discombobulating time
Yeah.
going on here.
Yeah, it
Ah,
really is. It really is. I welcome people to remind themselves that they are part of the world. They're part of you're a part of this. Whether or not you are aware of how part of it you are, how connected you want to be to it. You see commercials, you see ads, you see the way other people talk to themselves. Dietitian, we hear the way our clients talk about themselves, and then we are holding space for that. So even if I've
mhm.
seen other dietitians, other nutrition specialists, like really sit in the waves of their own discomfort of like, wait, I thought I was good. I thought I was okay, and now I'm not okay, and I'm helping other clients, and like now I feel like an imposter, and it weighs heavily, and the only thing that really gets me through, kind of circling back to that sturdy concept, is I I am intended to feel like I don't have power and autonomy and options and choice. And sometimes the thing that you have choice over is whether or not you decide to plant a vegetable garden in your yard, or whether or not you take the food that you're not going to eat in your pantry and it's not expired and you're like, great, what can I do with this? You bring it to a food pantry. Like, you have more choice than you realize, but it is going to be smaller. And it isn't going to be that you sign up for a 30-day program to lose weight because that's not your journey anymore. But like, where can you put that energy? Because when I remember that it's probably someone else's idea that I'm in the wrong body, I have to ask myself, well, what's my idea? And what would make me feel good? And that's not to say like it's always this like a heavy hit of capitalism or of diet culture. Like there is a lot of personal stuff at play too. It's essential though that we ask ourselves, all right, shit's out of control. What's going to make me feel sturdy and what's going to make me feel grounded? And if that means, here's the word part, meal prepping, you're not on a diet because you decided that. That is coming from a completely different place, and how beautiful and more self-care oriented is that. So being open-minded about how you navigate this and how you get through this body image hellscape, because it does feel inescapable. I have not had a single day since 2024 where we didn't talk about GLP-1s, where we didn't talk about your friend that lost a lot more weight and then she's not telling you why because she's embarrassed. Like that's happened every day in my practice since.
Yep. Ditto to that.
Like you're not alone. You are not
Yeah.
alone in your feelings, y'all.
No. Yeah, and it's become this weird place, and it's not only like not a day goes by, but it's like not a reel goes by. And there isn't some inference or reference or something. And if your algorithm is not like that, I'm so sorry that I'm talking about this because I may have just changed it for you.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're
right,
probably
right.
listening. But yeah, I mean, if you are not thinking about that stuff constantly, that's phenomenal. Like that means you have more brain space to think about other things, to find community, to support community, to do all this other stuff. If you don't have the brain space for that stuff right now, that is okay. That means that there are
That's good.
other ways that we can find to support ourselves. And like you were saying, it doesn't involve signing up for a 30-day weight loss program, because even if that makes you feel like you're, quote, doing something to make yourself feel better, it's not actually going to change why we got here and why you're feeling icky in the first place.
Yes.
So you can still sit with the fact that it's alluring because it does make you feel like you are doing something. But then, like Maria was saying, also, there are ways that we can incorporate structure and health-promoting behaviors without being on a diet, without it being perfectionistic, and without having a long list of foods that you're not allowed to eat or you're going to be the worst person in the world anymore. So,
yeah. Somewhere in that messy middle, my friend.
yeah. And it's harder, right? Like, we get it. And you might be like, I don't have the capacity for anything to be harder right now. We get that. But there are ways that you can add things in or shift your mindset about certain things, about food or about your labs, which actually I would love to talk about next.
Sure.
In a way that is actually more health promoting and not from a fear mongering perspective, because there is way too much fear mongering around health and nutrition in the world right now. So,
yeah. Oh, I mean, it's on fire.
Yeah. So, I want to talk about labs because I know every day I'm going over labs with people. I know you're going over labs with people all the time. And I wanted to talk about this because we were talking about the collective or like the systems that are in place that make us feel like, okay, well, there are things that we can do for ourselves. Sometimes I think, okay, a lot of the time that can go a little bit too far into, like, I call it health libertarianism, where you feel like you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? Because the system's not going to do it for me. And a lot of the time when people are coming to me, and I'm sure you have seen the same thing, is like people feel like there's something wrong. This is like peak perimenopause. You feel like there's something wrong. You go to the doctor, you get your labs done. Oh, you're fine. No, I'm not. I'm sweating.
Definitely not fine.
Constantly thinking about food. My GI is all over the place. My mental health's all over the place. You're telling me you're fine now. I feel like I'm crazy. Or maybe you go to a more functional medicine standpoint and they're like, okay, well, here's your list of foods. Here's your list of supplements. You have to spend $1,000 on labs and be back in a month. And if you don't cut out gluten, then it's your fault. So when we're talking about labs, I love to reframe the way that people are interpreting their labs so it doesn't feel like, oh, I have high cholesterol, I have to cut out all these foods, I have to overhaul my lifestyle, blah, 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 right? I would love if you could talk about your perspective on how do you stay sturdy in your mindset when your labs maybe aren't what you expected them to be, whether you have been working on things or you are just realizing that your labs are a
Mhm.
little bit not what you thought they would be.
Yeah, I love that you gave this, like, incredible layup for me. You said so many
You're
brilliant
like,
things.
alley-oop.
Yeah, yeah, like, incredible, because ultimately what I'm hearing you say and what I feel on a regular basis with my clients is personal responsibility and health as an expectation. I mean, how many times have you been told that people in bad health are a drain on the insurance, like, like the insurance policies? And in some ways, listen, if your entire department has multiple surgeries and multiple episodes of health things, yeah, your policy might change for your workplace. Like, that's not their fault. That's the insurance companies being conniving
Yeah.
and not wanting to put coverage where coverage is needed. Like, and especially if you think about women in the workplace. So let's say it's a school and most people are in their mid 30s to their 60s. Well, guess what? We're having babies and we're going through perimenopause and we're getting mammograms, and like these things happen. So remind yourself again, who is truly at play here when I feel like it's my personal responsibility, and what narratives might I need to kind of shrug off real quick that, what did you do wrong? What did you eat wrong? Have you not been taking care of yourself? Like, we have to kind of I want you to just take all those thoughts, put them at the door, and like a trash bag that you're going to take to the dump, but like, let it just sit there for a second. You're not gonna wrestle with it, but just, like, own that you have thoughts about it. And then I think we need to look at labs from a different perspective, which I felt very, very excited that I had manifested a LabCorp partnership. I don't do a lot of partnerships, but LabCorp came into my life and said, "Hey, will you do this thing?" And I said, "Sure, and I'm gonna do it so well, you're gonna whitelist it," which is when they run it as an ad. And
Yeah.
they messaged me and they said, "We gotta whitelist this," and I knew it was good. And it was amazing to, like, go and read the comments on Facebook, which is a decrepit wasteland, and having a lot of people at older ages say, "I love this take. This is really helpful." Also, a lot of comments about my muscles, which is really funny from older men. I think this is getting weird. So, all that said, what was the content? The content was, you are not looking at your labs like a report card. Look at your labs like they're windows. Like, you're literally looking through a window into like what's happening in my body, and let it be an opportunity where you take in information. I know this is hard to do because societally it isn't neutral, but can you feel it in a neutral way? Can you say, "Ah, look, there's a lot of sugar sitting around my red blood cells," it says. And that means my blood might be getting sticky. And maybe that means I need to do a few things to help sugar get into my cells. And what could those things be? Well, let me check my fiber. Let me make sure I'm hydrating. And if a walk after dinner might sound good. How do I know this? Why I have a nutrition degree. This is what I do every day. If you don't know that those are some things you can do, asking for help. You don't have to go through this alone. You just heard two professionals read labs on a daily basis, right? We love doing that. And we love doing that from the lens of not here's $3,000 in supplements, but how can we help you feel your best? So when we take this like windows approach, it's more just like, how you feel when you go window shopping. You're not fully committed. Maybe you're kind of falling in love with a look. You might go home and Pinterest it later and see, like, could I do it a little cheaper myself? Again, you're going to see a theme today. There's no urgency with the windows approach. But a report card is about the work you put in and the work you didn't put in. And, imagine when your teacher saying, well, like, wait a second, like, but my genetics make it really hard for me to get an A in math. You think your teacher's gonna no, I was a teacher, sorry. You have an IEP or you don't. You either are receiving accommodations or you're not, and that's not how health is, and I think it can be really helpful for people to say, "What are these labs trying to show me? What are they a window into? And what does that mean my body needs?" I think there's a tendency to bury your head and to skip the lab visit altogether and to wait. Well, let me be good for 30 more days. Let me get another month for my A1C to come together. Y'all, pushing it off is not a form of self-care. It is an avoidant coping skill because we are afraid. And you're allowed to be afraid because your doctor even your pediatrician may have trained you to be afraid of those conversations. And also, who else is going to advocate for you? Who else is more responsible for that? Not the behaviors. Who is responsible for that information? You are so owed that clarity of, hey, what's going on in my body? What you do with that information is where it gets messy. But zoom out a little. It's not what did I do wrong? It's what's going on. And when we take that approach, it's no longer about, oh, it's my weight. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's this. It's what can I do that would make this better for me? And what health promoting behavior do I want to apply to my life? Do I have the time, capacity, mental space? Because maybe eating enough fiber is the easy goal for you, but it could be very hard for someone else. Maybe eating protein at each meal feels easy for some, but it feels like diet culture to others. We've got to find our easy entry point, especially what's so frustrating about perimenopause, Dana, is there are no labs. It's a symptoms-based diagnosis. So I also would just want to like name and create space for the people that are listening to this that are like, no, I get my labs done to see what's wrong and nothing's wrong. And I'm actually being told nothing's wrong with my thyroid. Nothing's wrong with my adrenal glands. Nothing's wrong with my stomach. And it's like, there's clearly something wrong, right? So there's also that frustration of sometimes the window is foggy and you are owed clarity. You're owed that information. You don't have to fix it, but you are owed clarity. That's sort of my take on that.
Yeah. And it's hard too because for most people who are not seeing us, for example, when you go to your primary care, when you go to your OBGYN to get your labs done, they've got max, 10, 15 minutes with you. So
Max,
they don't
yeah.
have time to do, if you're lucky, 15 minutes,
Mhm.
right? 8 minutes if we're billing insurance, right?
Yeah. Mhm. That's right.
So when you have that limited time with your practitioner, it's not like they have time to go over your entire lifestyle, your stress, like how your food is impacted by this stuff, what resources you have access to. It's either, oh, everything is fine, or, oh, your cholesterol's high, make sure you do XYZ, and it's like a little thing in your chart part. And I will say, from experience, you're either getting everything is fine, see you next time. You're getting, oh, reduce your saturated fat content, make sure you exercise 5 times a week. Or you are actually telling your doctor about your lifestyle because they've asked, and then it freaking shows up in your chart part anyway. Like
Mhm, mhm.
the last time I went to the doctor, they were like, oh, tell us about your food. Like, what do you do for work? What about for exercise? And I was like, oh, I'm a dietitian. And they're like, oh, okay, so you know how to eat. And I was like, all right, we're working on a lot of assumptions here. Like,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And they're like, oh, what do you do for exercise? And I told them, like, I like to be active, blah, 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 whatever. And then you get the notes and they're like, here's what you should do to reduce your blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, this
Yeah,
is just
copy
so.
paste.
Yeah. So you
Mhm.
leave feeling not heard at all, regardless of which one of those 3 things you get. And so one of the things that I love to do, and I know you do this too, is I call it like putting the puzzle pieces together of your labs. Because most of the time when you're getting a look under the hood via your labs, the doctors are really only looking for the things that are flagged. But they don't have the time to look at, well, what are the things that are borderline? What about your nutrient levels? What about how
Mhm,
your
mhm,
thyroid is impacted by, or your cholesterol is impacted by your thyroid? What about how
mhm.
your gut health is impacting your absorption of nutrients? What about how this stuff is impacting your mental health, right? One, from the insurance side of things, they don't have time to do that in the office. We have time to do that. And so I find a lot of the time giving more context to people without overwhelming is
Mhm.
the key line to walk through, and
Yeah.
understanding like what is this look into the window, but not only like what is this one thing that's out of range sitting on an island, how is this connected not only to the rest of your labs but to any other lab work that you may have done, whether it's like GI testing, if you've been to a GI doctor, because I work with a lot of GI doctors and patients and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
it's figuring out like how are different things in our lifestyle able to impact that in a positive way without it becoming orthorexia, And without it becoming this all or nothing protocol of like, oh my gosh, for the first time, my A1C is elevated, therefore I can never eat another sugar or carb again. No, that's actually not
Right.
what we
Right.
want
That's
to
not what we
do.
want to do. Right.
But if you go to Google immediately after that appointment, you're going to find the wild west of nutrition information out there. And one person's going to say this and one person's going to say this. And whether they have credentials or not, two people with credentials could be saying completely opposite things. So if you find like you are stuck after getting labs, or if you're nervous to go get your labs and get them read, it makes sense because a lot of people have had these negative experiences when they go to a practitioner. And so it's not every practitioner, right? I've heard plenty of wonderful doctors' experiences also, but they are out there, you know? So
Mhm.
if you find that you are left wanting more of an explanation or how to approach this kind of stuff in a more add in, non diet, but very nuanced and evidence based kind of way, I would highly recommend that you reach out to somebody who has the time to go through all of this stuff with you as well.
Yes. Yes, I tell my clients, "Hey, don't forget to give your doctor your get out of jail free card." And they're like, "What is that?" I'm like, I'll talk to my dietitian about that."
Yep, 100%.
And oh, wow, like, the shoulders rolled down and
Yeah.
breathe, we laugh. There is I mean, I pull up comprehensive data from the last time you sent me your labs.
Yep.
We'll chart it together and say, wait, your doctor's upset that this is high. This doctor doesn't remember how much higher it was.
Mhm.
I remember because I've been on your team. And, I think keep in mind a little bit of empathy for these providers, right? They are working in a
Oh, yeah.
system that is absolutely built for them to fail and to not give us true care, which is why
Yep.
you see a lot of doctors go direct primary care, right? Completely different model. Lean on professionals. People often don't realize that their insurance is going to cover a preventative nutrition session, if not one, but maybe three, maybe unlimited. And you don't realize that maybe the $200 you spend to meet with a dietitian, if that, like just throwing a random number out there, like could be the difference between you wasting time worrying and pursuing expensive solutions or, just like emotionally expensive solutions. But like you can get the clarity you need in 60 minutes. It's you're like I said before, like you're worth that clarity. You deserve that, and to recognize that we're all operating in this failing system. But fortunately, some of us have decided to make this our career. So we've got time. We want to see you. We want to talk
Our
to
career
you.
in the failing system.
Yeah, we're like the little hand peeking out of the water. We're barely doggy paddling through. We're like, I got you. But we do want to help. I also want to just like tag the comment you said of that line between all or nothing, orthorexic thinking, and also just like, no, I don't want to know this at all. I don't want to do anything at all. Like, there is a place where you can be intentional and have it not control your life. I do think it takes practice and it takes
Oh, yeah.
some accountability from a provider who's with you in it. But I just want to like give that hope, like that is possible.
But if you've never experienced it before, it may not seem possible. And
Might seem like a
like
dream,
you were
right?
saying, right. Yeah. You're like, oh, yeah, that's something that's cool for you, not for me. How many times have you heard that in session?
Every day, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I hope that this will give people some hope that like there is progress that can be made in the nuance and in the actual personalized nutrition. I think that's a phrase that's being thrown out so much now. Oh, personalized nutrition, this. And then you show up behind the scenes. It's like you're on one of three tracks, my friend. Like you on one, two, or three. What you actually need is
Yeah.
someone who's going to meet you where you are, and that is not only in terms of like goals, health issues, medications, supplements, lifestyle, food, like all of the things combined, who can then also take into account, well, how does this fit in with your life and your capacity, right? Because if you have somebody who is living on their own and they are saying like, I really want to work on this is like my main priority outside of work, that is very different from somebody who is working two jobs and has a couple of kids and their partner is also very busy and they don't have a lot of time or capacity to work on this stuff. But there is still somewhere, or there's still recommendations that you can give to people and help them in a very gentle meet you where you are kind of way so that you still feel like you're making progress, but it doesn't feel like a wellness productivity checklist, as I feel like the phrase that I have been been around for
Mhm,
years at
mhm.
this point.
Yeah, wellness productivity checklist. Do we all have that? That is like a living, breathing thing, taking up space in your brain of like, well, have you had enough water? Well, have you meditated today? Have you done this? Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Why is my ponytail too tight? It's because I haven't meditated. I haven't drank enough water. Did I have too much coffee? Have I not had protein today? It's just like the whole go down the
Yeah.
list.
Yeah. Are the microplastics in my telethon getting into my hair, which is getting into my brain, which is making my endocrine system completely disrupted? Yeah. Yeah. SOS. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, SOS for all of us for the wellness productivity checklist and the intrusive wellness thoughts that are constantly throughout the day.
Constantly.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Constantly.
thank you so much for coming on today. I always
Well,
have,
thank
this
you for
brings me
having
so
me.
much joy to every single time that we talk. I
Yeah,
love
we
it.
have good time. We always have a good time together. Thank you for the
Yeah,
space to chat. It always feels just like hanging out with a pal and not an official interview of sorts, but I also feel like we shared great information for people today.
I know. It also makes me frustrated though, because I'm like, damn, I am all the way in Maryland and you are all the way in Louisiana. Like, I would
Mhm.
love to hang out. Not feasible. At least not now.
Not not feasible, but shall you ever, when I come to the little difficult, my big easy alternative name. You're welcome. She's a
I
little
love
difficult,
that.
honestly.
Yeah, living in the DC area, I feel that.
Yeah, you got your own little difficult.
Yeah, we
You do.
do. Straight in the White House. But I would love if you could tell people where they can find you.
Sure. Okay. So you can find me on Instagram at vitamin_V. That's RI. MariaTerryNutrition.com. I have a great weekly newsletter called Sunday Brunch that you should subscribe to if you'd like. Just a little love note in your inbox Sundays and Mondays whenever I hit send on that. We are here to support you. We're here for the ride. If you just want to hang out and watch our content, or if you need more support, you know where to find us.
Love it. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Let me stop this.